Hello everyone. Enjoy these pleasant, relaxing moments while you watch the story. The Central Hospital was plunged into a tense atmosphere when an 8-year-old girl was brought into the emergency room in the middle of the night. The door to the emergency room opened, and a nurse hurriedly pushed Lena, a small girl with messy hair and a pale face, inside. Her whole body trembled violently, drops of sweat rolling down her forehead. Her eyes were big and round, extremely frightened. But the scariest thing was the way Lena clutched her stomach, where the intense pain was raging. Anna, Lena's mother, ran beside her, her face extremely confused, tears streaming down her face. "Doctor, please save her. The baby is in so much pain," she almost screamed, her voice filled with despair. A nurse quickly checked Lena's condition. There were no signs of appendicitis, no symptoms of food poisoning. But her pain became more and more intense, to the point that her small body began to twitch slightly. The atmosphere in the emergency room became heavy. A doctor looked at the ultrasound screen and his eyes suddenly froze. "No way, what is this?" The image on the screen stunned the whole crew. An unusual mass appeared in Lena's abdomen, a large black shadow, something they had never seen before. No one understood what was going on. No one can explain this strange pain. But only a few minutes later, when the doctor ordered preparations for emergency surgery, the horrifying truth was gradually revealed. Part 2. The Central Hospital went into a state of alert when the doctor decided to perform emergency surgery on Lena. The 8-year-old girl is still writhing in pain. Her whole body is cold. Her breathing is weak. There is no other option than opening the abdomen to find out the real cause of this terrible pain. The operating room was quickly prepared. Surgeons wear protective gear and stand around the operating bed. The white light from the surgical lamp shines straight down on Lena's small body, highlighting her pale face and the beads of sweat on her forehead. The chief surgeon, Dr. Carter, an expert with over 20 years of experience in the surgical field, stood in the center, taking a deep breath before starting. Surgical tools are carefully arranged on the operating table, each sharp scalpel glistening under the light. The atmosphere in the room was extremely tense. All eyes were focused on the ongoing surgery. "Here we go," Dr. Carter ordered. The nurse gave the scalpel. Dr. Carter made the first incision on Lena's abdomen, making a precise cut in her pale skin. A layer of fresh blood quickly gushed out, but the nurses stopped the bleeding immediately. He carefully moved the blade, widening the incision little by little. As he went deeper into the abdominal cavity, something strange began to happen, unlike any surgery he had ever performed before. "This can't be." Dr. Carter's voice dropped. His eyes widened when he saw what was appearing in front of him. The entire operating room was silent. A chill spread throughout the space as all the doctors and nurses witnessed the terrifying scene inside Lena's body. A strange mass of tissue was located right in her abdomen. It is not a normal tumor. Its surface is rough, looking like a living entity. When Dr. Carter carefully lifted it up with surgical forceps, everyone present in the operating room was dumbfounded. That mass of tissue has teeth, hair, and a pair of eyes. No one dared to believe what they were seeing. A fetus, not yet fully developed, existed in Lena's belly for many years, without anyone knowing. Its lifeless eyes seemed to be staring at the people around it, even though it was lifeless. This horrifying truth made the entire surgical team stiffen. An assistant doctor took a deep breath and stammered, What is this?" Dr. Carter did not immediately respond. He knew exactly what he was facing, but even with his long experience, he couldn't stay calm. "Fetus in fetus," he whispered, his voice mixed with shock and horror. A twin fetus was absorbed while Lena was still in her mother's womb. The mass of tissue they were seeing was her undeveloped twin brother, trapped in Lena's body for 8 years without anyone detecting it. A nurse stepped back, her hand covering her mouth, her face drained of blood. Another doctor tightened his grip on the forceps in his hand, as if trying to calm himself before this horrifying truth. No one said a word. Only the cold sounds of medical machinery and the sound of cutlery touching each other echoed in the gloomy operating room. After a short but tense silence, Dr. Carter took a deep breath, regained composure, and ordered, "Let's continue. It must be taken out immediately. A real war begins." This fetus, although lifeless, had been rooted in Lena's internal organs for many years. Removing it is not easy. Dr. Carter and his team of doctors had to operate extremely carefully, step by step separating the massive tissue from the internal organs of the girl's abdomen without damaging important organs. Lena's heart rate monitor still beeped regularly, but with just one small mistake, the surgery could turn into a tragedy. Sweat beaded on Dr. Carter's forehead. He clenched his teeth, focusing maximum attention on each stroke of the knife. The team of nurses continuously monitored Lena's heart rate and blood pressure without taking their eyes off the screen. After nearly 3 tense hours, finally, the twin fetuses were successfully removed. A nurse quickly placed it in a specialized tray, while another doctor continued to stop the bleeding and stitch up Lena's incision. No one said anything for several minutes. They just stood there, staring at the monstrous mass of tissue lying on the table, as if unable to believe that this thing actually existed. "Is everything really over?" a nurse whispered, her voice full of haunting. Dr. Carter took off his gloves and exhaled heavily. "At least we saved Lena, but this will haunt me for a long time." Another doctor nodded, his eyes still not leaving the strange mass of fetuses on the table. "A surgery I will never forget." Outside the operating room, Lena's mother, Anna, is still waiting. She walked back and forth, her hands clasped together, her heart burning like fire. The past few hours have been the longest in her life. The operating room door opened. Anna rushed forward immediately, her eyes red with worry. "How is the baby? Doctor, is Lena okay?" Dr. Carter took off his mask and looked at her for a long time before gently nodding. "We had a successful surgery, but I need to talk to you about something important." Anna held her breath, her eyes opened wide. Her heart seemed to stop beating. "Doctor, what's going on?" "We found an undeveloped twin fetus in Lena's abdomen." The entire hospital hallway fell into a dead silence. Anna stiffened, completely unable to believe what she had just heard. "Fetus? Doctor, do you mean my daughter has been carrying a living being in her womb for 8 years? Dr. Carter nodded slowly. "That's right. This is an extremely rare condition called fetus in fetu. The luckiest thing is that we got it out in time. Otherwise, the consequences would have been unpredictable." Anna felt her mind spinning. She leaned against the wall, breathing heavily, unable to believe that her daughter had lived with a fetus in her belly for so many years. The mystery has been solved, but the obsession about it is still there. Anna trembled and covered her face with her hands, tears welling up in her eyes. "Lena, how long has she endured this?" In the distance, in the recovery room, Lena is slowly waking up after surgery. But as soon as she opened her eyes, she whispered something that made her mother dumbfounded. "Mom, she's still here." Lena's recovery room is immersed in a tense and mysterious atmosphere. The girl was still lying there, her face pale, her eyes wide open after a long coma. Anna, Lena's mother, still cannot take her eyes off her daughter. Dr. Carter's words kept echoing in her mind. Lena absorbed her undeveloped twin right from the womb. This is not a tumor, nor is it an unwanted pregnancy. Fetus in fetu, a rare phenomenon where a fetus is absorbed into its twin while both are still in the womb. Up to now, world medicine has only recorded about 200 such cases, but what made Dr. Carter frown and put the entire medical team in a state of confusion and bewilderment more than anything else was that this fetus was still growing. Normally, fetus in fetu only exists as a mass of dead tissue, unable to develop further without life. But in Lena's case, when doctors examined the structure of the removed fetus in more detail, they noticed frightening abnormalities. Cell tissue is still dividing. Nerve cells show signs of activity. Some blood vessels are still circulating. In other words, this fetus is not completely dead. In the laboratory, Dr. Carter and a team of experts used an electron microscope to analyze tissue samples from the fetus. When the first images appeared on the screen, the whole room suddenly fell silent. "No way," a researcher muttered. "The tissue cells are still dividing as if they had never stopped. In theory, this is impossible. A fetus absorbed into the body of a twin cannot show signs of separate development." But here, they are facing something completely contrary to what medicine has ever known. "We need to check further." Dr. Carter quickly ordered a series of advanced tests, including a tissue biopsy, DNA testing, and a more detailed MRI scan of Lena. And it was during these tests that they discovered an even more terrifying truth. The removed removed fetus has left Lena's body, but its traces have not completely disappeared. Under the MRI scanner, doctors noticed something was still left in her stomach. It is not a completely separate mass of tissue. It was as if it were a part of Lena's body, closely connected to her circulatory system. This is a part of the twin fetus that was not completely removed, an expert whispered while observing the image on the screen. The entire medical team held their breath, because this means the twin fetuses can still continue to develop right inside Lena's body. Do we need another surgery? The doctor asked. Not sure. Dr. Carter frowned. Another surgery means extremely high risks for Lena. The girl suffered too much pain after the first surgery. If it continues again, Lena's weak immune system may not be able to endure it. But if nothing is done, this fetus will continue to develop. In all the medical literature on fetus in fetu, there has never been a case like Lena's. An embryology expert from the National Research Institute was invited to consult. After reviewing Lena's file, he could only shake his head in confusion. This phenomenon has never been recorded before. In theory, this is impossible, but in reality, it is happening right before their eyes. What caused this fetus to continue to develop right inside Lena's body? A hypothesis has been proposed. This fetus may have sought to maintain life by connecting to Lena's circulatory system for the past 8 years, but that also means it has been living parasitically inside Lena the entire time. With each passing day, the team of doctors felt more and more worried. The removed fetus was isolated in a sterile environment, but the remaining parts inside Lena could still continue to develop. They must decide quickly. If we continue to wait, it is possible that this massive tissue will grow to the point of endangering Lena's internal organs. But if she rushes into a second surgery, she may not survive because she lost too much blood. Dr. Carter stayed awake for 3 consecutive nights, with the medical team considering all options. They consulted hundreds of medical documents and contacted the world's leading experts, but still could not find a perfect solution. All options are fraught with risks. While the doctors were still struggling with decisions, Lena woke up. The girl opened her eyes and looked around the white hospital room. But instead of being scared, Lena said something that made her mother and all the doctors shiver. She's still here. Anna, Lena's mother, squeezed her daughter's hand, her voice trembling. Lena, what are you saying? Lena turned to her mother, her eyes lifeless, but her voice was extremely certain. I can feel it. She's still here. She hasn't left anywhere. In that moment, a dead silence enveloped the room. The doctors looked at each other, feeling a chill run down their spines. Is this just Lena's hallucination? Or really the fetus has not been completely removed, still exists somehow? That question made everyone unable to sleep that night. Because if what Lena said is true, then the next surgery could be not only a medical war, but also a war with an unknown entity. The hospital is still in a tense atmosphere after the haunting surgery. Although the undeveloped twin fetus was removed from Lena's body, this incident still left too many unanswered questions. Doctors couldn't understand why an 8-year-old child could live with a living being inside his body without showing any obvious signs for so many years. Dr. Carter, after completing the surgical report, decided to take a closer look at Lena's medical records. He wanted to find out if there were any pre-existing signs that the hospital had missed. However, when he studied further, he discovered something strange. After Lena was stable, the doctor asked to meet privately with her mother, Anna. She is still in shock after everything that happened. Even though she knew her daughter was safe, her mind was still reeling from the unbelievable truth the doctor had told her a few hours earlier. In the consulting room, Anna sat in front of Dr. Carter, her hands clasped together, her face haggard with worry. Doctor, is this really possible? Her voice trembled. Dr. Carter nodded slowly. Fetus in fetu is very rare, but it can happen. However, I need you to answer honestly. During Lena's pregnancy, did you experience anything strange? Strange symptoms, unusual dreams, or anything that makes you feel unusual? Anna frowned, searching through her memories in her head. After a long while, she took a deep breath. Her eyes seemed lost in the past. It's strange, but there's something I've never told anyone. Dr. Carter waited silently. Anna shivered slightly. When I was pregnant with Lena, I had a recurring dream. It kept appearing every third month of pregnancy, like a strange reminder that I couldn't understand. The doctor sat up straight and listened attentively. In the dream, I saw myself standing in a dark space. In front of me was a small shadow, a baby. But that's not Lena. The room fell silent. Anna swallowed. Trying to stay calm, that baby tried to reach for me. I could feel its small hand touching my belly, as if it was trying to hold Lena. Dr. Carter frowned. So in that dream, did the baby say anything? Anna trembled, bowed her head. Her voice was as soft as a whisper. It only said one sentence. Don't forget me. I'm still here. Dr. Carter leaned back in his chair, thoughtful. As a doctor, he always believed in science. But what Anna had just told him made him feel a strange connection between reality and what she had experienced in her dream. Could it be that undeveloped twin fetus once existed as a living entity? Could it be that it was trying to signal its presence while still in the womb? He turned back to look at Anna's medical records during her pregnancy. No abnormal signs were noted. There were no complications. No ultrasound showed the existence of a second fetus. But if it was all just a coincidence, then why was that dream so accurate? A bold hypothesis appeared in his mind. Lena might have sensed its presence. This sentence popped out of his mouth unconsciously. Anna raised her eyes, shocked. What do you mean? Dr. Carter slowly explained. There are many studies on the link between twins. Some scientific reports suggest that even if one no longer exists, the other can still feel its presence in some way. This might explain why Lena was suddenly in such pain, as if there was an urge to be discovered. Anna shivered, remembering the moment Lena burst into tears in the middle of the night, and her daughter's strange whispers after the surgery. Mom, she's still here. Is this really just a common medical reaction? Or is there something more mysterious than that? After the surgery, Lena's health gradually recovered, but there was one thing that Anna couldn't help but notice. Lena is no longer the same. Before, she was always happy, smiling often, loved running and playing with friends. But now, her daughter has become more quiet, sometimes sitting still and looking into space with distant eyes. The girl started drawing strange pictures. Anna recognized that among her daughter's drawings, there was an image that repeated many times. Two children holding hands. But the scariest thing is, in the drawing, there is a child who is not present. Just a dim shadow standing next to Lena, but it brought an extremely gloomy feeling. Lena, what are you drawing? One time, Anna asked while she was sitting in a corner continuing to draw her picture. Lena looked up, her eyes calm but full of mystery. Mom, don't you miss me? She's still here. Anna shivered, feeling cold down her spine. The hospital closed Lena's surgery file with the conclusion, fetus in fetu, rare deformity. But for Anna and those who witnessed this incident, they knew that things were not that simple. The undeveloped twin fetus was removed from Lena's body, but was it really gone? Don't forget me, I'm still here. The words from Anna's dream from years ago now echoed hauntingly in her mind. Lena gradually recovered physically, but deep in her mind, a door seemed to have just opened, leading to a world that no one could explain. Mom, she's still here. Lena's weak whisper as soon as she woke up after the surgery made the whole room fall silent. Dr. Carter was stunned. A trace of worry flashed through his eyes. Even though the undeveloped twin fetuses were removed from Lena's body, it seemed like she still felt something was left. The doctor quickly checked Lena's condition. Lena looks very weak. Her heart rate was still slow, her body was cold, her breathing was fragile as if it could disappear at any moment. Although the surgery was successful, her body has not yet completely overcome the critical condition. And then, the worst thing happened. Lena's heart rate suddenly dropped sharply. The sound of the heart rate monitor makes dangerous beep sounds. On the screen, the electrocardiogram began to go down, signaling an impending crisis. Her heart is stopping, a nurse shouted in panic. The entire emergency room immediately fell into chaos. Dr. Carter immediately rushed into the fight for Lena's life. He shouted loudly, "Prepare for heart shock! 200 joules. Quick!" A nurse immediately brought in a defibrillator. All the doctors and nurses present focused their entire attention on the little girl on the hospital bed. Tick-tock, tick-tock. Time seemed to stop when Dr. Carter placed 2 electrode plates on Lena's chest. Heart shock for the first time. Boom! Lena's small body bounced with the force of the electric shock. Everyone held their breath, waiting for a miracle. But the ECG line is still a straight line. No response. Impossible. Continue to shock your heart. 300 joules. Boom! Lena bounced again. The heart rate monitor still made a shrill sound, signaling that the girl was on the brink of death. Meanwhile, outside, Lena's mother, Anna, knelt down on the floor. She no longer had the strength to stand. Tears rolled down her pale face. Her hands clenched tightly. Her mouth continuously whispered in vain, "Lord, please don't take her away. Please save Lena. I beg you." Prayers rang out in desperation, mixed with the cold sound of machinery in the emergency room. But inside the emergency room, the situation became more and more dangerous. "Prepare for the adrenaline injection. We can't let her go like this." A nurse hurriedly took the syringe, her hands shaking with tension. She gave it to Dr. Carter, who was fighting every second to save Lena. "Doctor, we could lose the girl," a choked voice rang out. But Dr. Carter did not accept that. He held the adrenaline syringe, took a deep breath, and then stabbed the needle straight into Lena's heart. "Inject straight into the heart." The entire emergency room held its breath. Everyone stared at the heart rate monitor screen. Tick, tick, tickle, tickle, tickle. Her heart is beating again. Heart rate back. The whole room burst into tears. A nurse burst into tears. A doctor whispered, "Thank goodness." But Dr. Carter still did not dare to let his guard down. He ordered, "Continue to monitor closely." Heart rate still not stable. They continued to provide first aid, monitoring Lena's every weak breath. Outside, Lena's mother looked up, tears still rolling down her cheeks, but there seemed to be a glimmer of hope in her eyes. "Lena, you're back." After more than an hour of tension, Lena's condition finally stabilized. The heart rate monitor emits regular, uninterrupted sounds. Her body is still very weak, but her skin color has returned to its rosy color. The team of doctors and nurses breathed a sigh of relief. Dr. Carter looked at Lena, then turned to the head nurse. "We got the girl, but now we must ensure that no complications occur." The nurse nodded and quickly rechecked all indicators. "It's not over yet. Lena has overcome death, but her body is still very weak. Doctors know that in the coming hours, they must continue to monitor closely to avoid any possible complications." Meanwhile, Lena's mother was allowed into the hospital room. She walked to the bed, her trembling hand holding Lena's small hand. "It's me, baby. You did so well." Lena opened her eyes, looked at her mother, then gave a weak smile. "Mom, is she gone yet?" Anna paused. "Her?" Lena nodded slowly, her voice so weak it was almost inaudible. "I still feel her very close." A chill ran down Anna's spine. She turned to Dr. Carter, but he remained silent. Even though the twin fetuses were removed, something still seemed to remain. The hospital room was silent. The heart rate monitor still beeped steadily, but Anna couldn't shake the feeling of insecurity rising in her heart. Is this truly the end of the nightmare, or just the beginning? After 8 hours of fighting for her life, Lena opened her eyes. Her mother, Anna, stood by her side for many hours, her trembling hand holding her daughter's hand tightly, as if afraid that if she let go, Lena would fall back into an endless sleep. When that little eyelid moved slightly, Anna couldn't help but burst into tears. Tears of happiness rolled down her face, worn out by worry over the past hours. "Lena, you're awake. Did you hear me?" Anna leaned closer and held her daughter's small but still weak hand. Lena blinked a few times, her pupils gradually regaining focus. But when her mother called her name, the girl did not immediately respond. A moment of silence covered the room before Lena spoke softly. Her voice was soft, but made both her mother and the doctor standing next to her stunned. "Mom, I had a very strange dream." Dr. Carter, who directly performed Lena's surgery, frowned slightly. He has seen many patients wake up after major surgery, but this time the feeling was completely different. There was something in Lena's voice, a strange calmness, as if she had just gone on a journey beyond reality. Anna quickly stroked her daughter's hair, her voice cracking with emotion. "What did you dream about?" "Lena?" Lena blinked, then smiled slightly. "I dreamed of someone, very gentle, holding my hand. That person said you don't need to be afraid, because you will never be alone." The hospital room fell into silence. Anna looked at her daughter, feeling a strange feeling in her heart. Lena's words made her feel both warm and somewhat inexplicable. "Who is it?" Anna asked. But Lena just smiled without saying anything more. Lena recovered very quickly. Doctors were surprised at the girl's recovery speed. Even though she had just undergone a complicated surgery, Lena did not show any pain or fatigue like other patients. On the contrary, the girl looked calmer, somewhat quieter than before. Anna was happy to see her baby recovering, but she also began to notice some small changes in Lena. She often looked farther away than before, as if she was thinking about something that no one understood. Sometimes, Lena suddenly smiled unconsciously, but not the mischievous smile like before. It was a gentle, quiet, mysterious smile. But no matter how much she has changed, Lena is still an obedient, happy child. Doctors did not see any worrying signs, only thought it might be due to psychological effects after the surgery. One day, when her mother asked again about the dream in the operating room, Lena tilted her head to think for a moment, then replied softly, "I dreamed about her." Anna shivered slightly. "You?" Lena nodded, her eyes sparkling as if remembering something. "That person looks a lot like me, but a little smaller than me." Anna's heart beat strongly. A strange feeling crept into her heart, but before she could ask more, Lena turned away and continued playing with her dolls. One afternoon, something really strange happened. That day, Lena sat in her room holding colored pencils, attentively drawing. Anna accidentally passed by, curiously looking at her daughter's drawing. But as soon as the image on the paper caught her eye, she suddenly stopped. The picture is of two children. One of them is obviously Lena, shoulder-length hair, characteristic big round eyes. But next to Lena, there was another child, a little younger than her, but with the same hair and almost identical face. Anna felt goosebumps all over her body. She took a deep breath, trying to keep her voice calm as she asked her daughter, "Lena, who is it?" Lena looked up, her eyes clear, then smiled gently. "This is her, the person who has been by my side for a long time, but now she has peace of mind." Anna's heart seemed to stop beating. A chill ran down her spine, but immediately, that feeling was replaced by a strange warmth. Anna looked at her daughter and saw that there was no fear in Lena's eyes, but only peace. The girl is not alone. Although science can explain the twin fetuses absorbed in Lena's body, no one can explain what she experienced in that dream. Was it really just a dream, or was it a reunion? No one knows. Only Lena, with a gentle smile, continued to draw the final lines on her painting, where two children stood together under the bright yellow sunlight. And in that picture, no one is truly alone. Faint moonlight covered the small room, creating sparkling streaks of light on the curtains. That night, Lena fell asleep peacefully after many days of recovery. Her mother, Anna, sat quietly by the bed, her eyes still watching her daughter, as if afraid that if she looked away, Lena might disappear into the darkness. Since the fateful surgery, Lena often has strange dreams. Those were not nightmares like before, but gentle, peaceful dreams, where she always saw a blurry figure waiting for her in the gentle light. That night, Lena's dream became more special than any dream before. The girl found herself standing in a vast field of flowers, white flowers swaying in the wind as if waving. In the distance, there was someone walking towards her. It was a child, as small as Lena, but his face seemed to have an indescribable familiarity. The girl smiled gently, her eyes sparkling with warmth. Lena is not afraid. The girl felt a strange peace in her heart, as if she had been waiting for this moment for a long time. "Who are you?" Lena asked. Her voice sounded like it was mixed with the wind. The child in front of him tilted his head, smiled, then gently reached out and touched Lena's chest, where the incision still had a faint scar. "I know, Lena." In that moment, Lena's heart seemed to calm down. The girl felt something extremely sacred, as if the two had been a part of each other for a long time. The dream gradually faded, but before the surrounding light disappeared, the mysterious child was able to say one last sentence. "Thank you, Mom, for protecting me." Lena suddenly woke up in the middle of the night, not because of fear, but because of a feeling so deep that she jumped up from the bed and ran straight to her mother's room. Anna was falling asleep after a long day, But as soon as she felt Lena hug her tightly, she woke up startled. "What's wrong, daughter?" Anna asked worriedly, gently rubbing Lena's small back. Lena raised her head, her clear eyes shining with emotion. "Mom, I saw her again last night." Anna was briefly surprised, but then she smiled and gently stroked her daughter's soft hair. "What did she say to you?" Lena squeezed her mother's hand tightly. Her sparkling eyes seemed to contain a sky of untold things. The girl whispered, "She thanked her mother for protecting her child, and she will always watch over you from a very beautiful place." Anna was speechless. Lena's words were like a gentle breeze entering her heart, soothing the worries and torments she had been carrying around all this time. She hugged Lena tightly, feeling her daughter's warmth, a real warmth, full of life. No matter how scary the mystery of the surgery is, the ultimate miracle is love and protection. As time passed, the scar on Lena's stomach gradually faded, but the memory of what happened was still there, an indispensable part of her life. But instead of being afraid or haunted, Lena felt grateful. She understood that she had been given a chance to continue living, a gift that not everyone has. Lena is no longer the shy girl who hides behind her mother every time she meets strangers. The girl began to open her heart more, love people more, as if she understood the value of existence. From a child who was scared every time pain came, Lena has now become someone who can smile, even though she still holds unforgettable memories in her heart. The girl learned to appreciate simple things, like the morning sunlight, like her mother's smile, like peaceful days that she had never thought of before. In the following years, Lena gradually grew up, carrying with her not only her own story, but also a message from the past. When she reached adulthood, Lena decided to become a doctor. The girl believes that she has been given a miracle that not everyone can experience. And so, she wants to spread it to others. Lena not only wanted to heal, but also wanted to heal. She wants to spend her life helping others find hope, the same way she was saved. She will always watch over you from a very beautiful place. That sentence still echoes in Lena's mind every time she puts on her white blouse, and every time she saves a life. Every time she brings a smile to a patient, she knows that somewhere in the sky, there is a smiling person watching over her. After that fateful surgery, Lena gradually recovered in the recovery room. Her mother, Anna, was still standing by her side, her eyes never leaving her daughter. Every time she looks at Lena, she remembers what Dr. Carter said about the strange existence of undeveloped twin fetuses. An unbelievable truth, but completely scientifically based. As time passed, Lena's body gradually recovered, but her mind still carried an indescribable feeling. There was something in her heart that still couldn't be erased, as if a part of her was still around somewhere. "Mom, she's still here." Lena's weak words as soon as she woke up after the surgery stunned Anna. At that time, she thought that her daughter was just confused because of the anesthesia. But in the days that followed, Lena continuously mentioned you with a strange affection. "Mom, I can feel her." Anna hugged her daughter tightly, her heart aching. The girl had to go through horror for 8 years without anyone knowing, but even after the twin fetus was removed, Lena still felt connected to it as an inseparable part of herself. Dr. Carter once said that fetus in fetu is an extremely rare medical phenomenon, but to Lena, it is not just a scientific phenomenon. It is also an invisible bond between two lives, love and science. Two seemingly opposing aspects but blend in this story. Scientific questions and wordless wonders. Why did the twin fetuses exist in Lena's body for all these years? Why didn't it grow into a dangerous tumor but instead had teeth, hair, and eyes that seemed to be watching the world? Why can Lena, an 8-year-old girl, feel the existence of a living being that science calls the remnants of a pregnancy? Science can explain this phenomenon in medical terms, with studies on fetal absorption in the womb, but there is one thing that no research can clarify. That is the love and connection between two beings who were once a part of each other. Lena is not afraid, nor does she feel empty. The girl felt at peace. The feeling of pain and instability that she had suffered for so long had disappeared, but something else took its place. An invisible but loving presence. "I know she's still here, Mom, but I'm not afraid. I feel like you're protecting me." Anna didn't know how to answer her daughter. She could only hug the girl in her arms and whisper, "No matter what happens, you are never alone." Love and connection transcend the limits of reality. Lena's story puzzled the doctors in the hospital, but at the same time, it also opened up a whole new perspective on the connection between people, even if one of them is never actually born. Dr. Carter, who performed the surgery, could not forget the look in Lena's eyes when she talked about her twin. As a doctor, he was used to seeing everything through the lens of science, but this was the first time he had to face something that science couldn't explain: the love and connection between two living beings. Even though only one can exist in this world, that love still exists, still strong, even when one of them was robbed by fate of the opportunity to see sunlight. In the following days, Lena begins to have strange dreams. The little girl dreamed of a small hand holding hers, a familiar figure always by her side. It's not clear. It doesn't have a specific shape, but Lena feels comforted every time that dream appears. She no longer feels empty, no more loneliness, because even though it cannot be seen with the naked eye, Lena understands that she is never truly alone. Lena's story is not only a rare medical case, but also a powerful reminder of love, connection, and the meaning of existence. We always look for answers in science, but there are things of the heart and faith, things that no mathematical formula or theory can fully explain. Love does not depend on physical presence. No matter the circumstances, no matter how many things are lost, the connection between people who love each other always exists. Lena lost a part of herself that she never knew. But even when the twin fetuses were removed from her body, the bond between the two beings did not disappear. No matter what trials we go through, love and connection are always stronger than anything. We are never truly alone. What about you? Have you ever experienced a moment that made you feel the invisible connection between people who love each other? Please share your thoughts in the comments section. And if this story touches your heart, don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with your friends to spread the message of love and togetherness. Because no matter where we are, no matter what we go through, we are never truly alone.